everybody, and welcome to Whiskey with the Werewolf Hunter. I'm Brian Easton, author of the autobiography of the Werewolf Hunter series, and today we are in the Werewolf Bar, Florida. This is my friend Miles Boothe, who you've seen on the show before on interviews, and heard me talk about him quite a bit. And this is the first time that Miles and I have actually met one another.
It is.
And so we thought we'd take the opportunity, record a piece for you about our upcoming anthology, Legends of the Werewolf Hunter. So Miles, thanks for having me over here today, and glad to meet you in person finally and spend some time with you.
It's been a decade.
A decade, that's right.
A long time coming.
That's right. We've known each other online and have talked for 10 years plus, and we finally had the opportunity to get together, so we're glad for that. So tonight, our creature of the night is Whistle Pig Rye. Now, I've never had this. I've seen it a lot in the stores. Miles found it. And
I've not had it either. I've been wanting to try it.
So, and it's a rye, like I said, so, you know, that runs deep with Sylvester and the Werewolf Hunter. So let's open it up and give this guy a day in court. It's got good reviews, you said, right?
It did. Comes highly recommended.
Whiskey aficionado or
the guy at the liquor store.
The guy at the liquor store, right. All right. So, Whistle Pig Rye.
All right. To your health, sir.
To you. And to you. I like that. That is good. That is good rye whiskey.
That is tasty.
It's really got the nice pepper, black pepper bite that you want from a rye.
Where are the things?
Not overpowering.
Wow.
It's good all the way through, I think.
That's got a nice finish, too.
It does. It really does.
It kind of kicks in with the flavor and then smooths right out.
Yeah, and that's not harsh. It's not hot. I mean, no more than a whiskey should be. But yeah, that is an excellent. That is an excellent drink.
That is really good.
Good call on the Whistle Pig. So since we're together and have the opportunity, we thought it made the most sense to do a segment here and to talk to you more about our upcoming anthology, Legends of the Werewolf Hunter. Now, if you're a regular viewer of the show, you probably already know that this coming Halloween season, we're going to have an anthology series based on the autobiography of a Werewolf Hunter trilogy. And they're going to be side characters, side plots, everything in this upcoming anthology will tie in some way, shape, or form to the trilogy and perhaps even the Winter Fox journals. And so we wanted to talk a little bit about our authors that we've got. Now, Miles has a long career as a publisher and dealing with independent authors, and so he's got on board here with Emby Press to make this happen, and we're really glad that it worked out that way. Originally, I had shopped the idea to Bermuda Press because they are my publishers, and they passed on it because they don't do anthology series, which is completely understandable. But that was really exciting to me because then I knew we were going to be in good hands with Miles and Emby Press, and it's just been a lot of fun so far, and looking forward to where it goes. So, can you tell us a little bit about our authors? Kind of run down the list for us.
Yeah, we have some werewolf royalty that we've been able to gather. I think a lot of people are familiar with Tom Brandon. And he did a series of books with D.L. Snell. And he's also done some other work that veers into werewolf territory. He did one with Emby years ago called Before the Dawn. And that's more of an urban fantasy. Maybe he'll probably want to slap me for saying that, but it's sort of that way. Excellent book. The trilogy that he did was The Alphabet of Dogs.
Yeah, Pavlov's dogs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Right. With Snell, and another excellent trilogy. So,
and those two guys, by the way, are a dynamic duo when it comes to writing. If you've not read anything by Snell and Brandon, you need to get a hold of one and read it because these guys are dynamite together. They really are. So we're lucky to have Tom on board.
Very excited about that. We also have Rob Pegler, who wrote Coppertown Red. Very excited to have him on board as well. And he's got a second novel sequel to Coppertown Red. And I think that when we interview him, he'll be talking a little bit more about that. We'll be giving that a little spotlight as well. We have James Cook, who was new to me, and I just had the pleasure of reading his story a couple of weeks ago for the first time. That's going to be fantastic.
Yeah, that was a really good story that James turned in. James is not necessarily a new author. He's just new to
me,
new to Miles. I've known him for a little while, just kind of cursorily. But he wrote our series called Surviving the Dead, and it's a kind of a military series, very well done, which is why we kind of tapped him to write for the anthology. And now Rob, taking a step back, Rob's a New Zealander.
Yes.
Right? So it's kind of hard to get the times lined up from Florida, United States to New Zealand to do an interview. But
he's a day ahead.
Yeah, he knows what's going to happen already. So that's bear with us on that. We'll get it lined out and get those times put together.
Absolutely.
Who else do we have?
We have Basil.
Basil Sands.
Look up Basil Sands on Amazon, the Ice Hammer trilogy, among others, and I've read his story, and it's another very, very cool take.
Yes.
Different view of the universe.
Yeah.
And it's good.
And that's what we wanted. It's what I wanted. People inviting people to play in the sandbox isn't asking them to regurgitate what I've already done. I want different takes, their own specific takes as authors on the universe that's been created there in the trilogy. And Basil has certainly stepped up to bat on that one. And remember, Basil is the narrator on all my audio books up to this point, and hopefully on into the future. He's a native Alaskan and knows his business very well. And we also have Sarah Lunsford on board. Now, Sarah is a multifaceted author. She has several different pen names that she writes under, does different genres, and is a consummate professional in the field. And we're really glad to have her on board. I mean, really, really honored that she would join us on this.
Really looking forward to her story.
Really are, yeah. And Sarah's been a fan of the series for quite a while, and we have talked for a number of years through Facebook and other means, email and such. So looking forward to reading that for sure. Now we have a couple other authors that we won't mention by name right now because certain things are still in the works. But I think when it's all said and done, you're going to be really glad to have read this book, and you're going to be impressed by the talent that some of these guys are bringing to the table. And we want to thank Miles, of course, for being behind the publishing end of that. And
it's an absolute pleasure.
Oh, and lest we forget, Miles will also be contributing to the series. I've read his story. It's fantastic, and it kind of sets the bar, I think, for our other authors. But he's pretty modest about it. He doesn't like to go into it too much, But he, but he himself is a talented writer, and is going to be adding his perspective to the book as well.
Just from the stories that I've read so far, this is going to be a great book. This is going to be one of those rare anthologies where it's not going to have a weak spot in it. It's going to be solid. And I'm just really looking forward to being able to get it out and put it into people's hands. Halloween release date.
Yeah, can't beat that.
Exactly, and we're absolutely on target to do that. So.
And Miles knows a thing or two about about there being weak links in anthologies. He put together some of the Monster Hunters, Legends of the Monster Hunter series back in the day, and there were some real gems in those books. But there were a few weak links as well.
You try to get coverage.
That's right.
You know.
That's right. So hopefully this anthology that we've got coming up with the Legends of the Werewolf Hunter is going to be strong all the way through from top to bottom, and we're just really looking forward to working with our authors more. We've got more interviews coming up before the end, and we'll keep you apprised of the progress as we go along. Well, that's enough about that for now. So before we go on, let me show you this.
Everybody loves a good cover, and arguably one of the most enjoyable parts about putting a book together of any kind really is that cover. So this is the one that we've decided to use for our anthology, Legends of the Werewolf Hunter, because it seems to fit the overall mood of the series on which it's based. But I thought I'd go ahead and show you some of the other cover designs that we were looking at as we were planning the book last year. As you'll see, most of these are nothing like the one that we ultimately chose, which is probably why we chose it. That doesn't mean that they won't see use down the road, especially if we end up making the Legends of the Werewolf Hunter anthology a series of books instead of just a one-off. Now, many of these are just subtle variations of the one before it, like that one. Some have wolves, some have moons. But I think you'll agree the one that we chose is probably still the best.
Well, Miles, it's been a slice being here with you today, and finally glad to have met you.
This is great.
Again, to your health. So that's going to do it for us from the Werewolf Bar South in Florida on a nice balmy July day. And until next time, happy hunting and mind the moon.